Okay, I'm going to show you how to do a basic design for this just a front yard. Very simple. You can see the video here of the yard that I took. Very conservative house. These are a couple of engineers, so they'll like things usually a little more structured, a little more organized. This curvilinear bed they really dislike. They really dislike just the way the plants are grouped together instead of in lines. He also dislikes how floppy everything is. So like these Laura petalums are, and all this was I think it was like lantana, but so it's just too crazy and chaotic for them. They don't necessarily want things as manicured hedges, but they do want a little more structure to the yard. They're also both a young couple, and they both have full-time jobs, very good jobs, as you can tell by the size of this house here. It's also driving him crazy is that rock that's lining the border. He'd like an option to clean that up. So obviously we would take out the bull rock and do stacked stone. Being an engineer, he's also, and a young one, a little more conservative. So he would like to know that we're trying to reuse what we can out of his yard. So the gravel, I've already got ideas of pushing it along the house and doing like a bull rock border along the foundation of the house to make sure, and they'll like that structured, clean and it keeps his house safe. So we'll be able to reuse some of that gravel. The plant material, there'll be some that we can reuse, like maybe the Aztec grass that's right there, the claras that are along the back fence or along the foundation there, we can use. So let's get to work on this one here. There was 3 pine trees that were over here we're going to move. I told him possibly clustering them in the front. I told him almost guaranteed that due to HOA regulations, a lot of these newer neighborhoods require more and more trees. I noticed that some of the homeowners, though, did have them within their building line. So the big thing is to make sure that we're looking at neighbors' properties as well. What is acceptable and what isn't. So let's start with just kind of, I usually like to start with a basic outline. Because we're going to be doing stacked stone, you can do it either in hardscape in decks or in their planters. It doesn't really matter that much. This was a really big bed here before, so I'd like to figure out a way to potentially reduce some of the size of it. That tree might be up a little bit. I kind of just winged it where these trees were at. I didn't place them exactly, so just space a little bit further is where I'd like to see it. I'm thinking about potentially eliminating this bed here in front, maybe do a little pocket bed so we don't have to transplant this tree here. It'll have a better chance of surviving if we can keep that tree where it's at and keep this one where it's at. And I'd like to pull these pine trees out further. If we eliminate some of this bed, it'll open up this walkway a little bit more. It'll really reduce the amount of stone and reduce the amount of beds that he has. I talked to him about the fact that having so much bed will increase his maintenance down the road. So mulch, they don't want annual flowers. Mulch is going to be his biggest expense year in and year out whenever he mulches his bed once or twice a year to keep it looking sharp. So just pointing those things out to the homeowners usually will go a long way in showing them that you're on their side. You're not necessarily just trying to give them the most expensive option. So anyway, let's start with this. So we're going to throw maybe a few curves in here, but so just kind of trying to find a nice balance here. And with front yards, it's more just about aesthetics than anything else. To keep things simple and to make it easy to outline stuff, a lot of times I will really try to follow the lines. Just really makes it easy down the road. Just kind of lining it up so that way, because this is a really big house and there's only 5 feet on either side, so we don't want anything to obstruct this view going in. And then we're also going to do probably, say, like an 18-inch border or stack stone around there. So whenever you do like follow the lines, it's real easy to know exactly where to. And this is a very simple bed. Don't get me wrong here. This is I always like the center trees. You know, it really makes it look like it was planned ahead. There's 6. These are 3-inch grids. If you notice here, I like to do it on a 3-inch grid. This is the way I typically would like to design. So, you know, it's nothing fancy, but it's a front yard. We're just going to keep it real simple for today. You do not have to become a perfectionist when it comes to designing these front yards. It's really just about finding balance than anything else. So there's the stacked stone border, and this here was actually much closer to the house there. They probably also have to do a small bed right here. I usually like to go out a minimum of 4 feet, and then on this side you might come out just a little bit because he's got these utilities right here. So that'll help right there. I would normally like to continue this gutter down or this rock down just a little bit, but I don't want to impede the flow of that gutter right there. There's nothing I can really do about that. And then of course there will have to be some screening, some vegetation in front of this box here. 3 feet is kind of a minimum that I like to do beds, but 4 is definitely more ideal. There was a gravel like border swale type thing through here. That we definitely don't want to impede the flow on that swale right there. So now we can come through here and do our bed, our stacked stone. If you notice, I'm just doing a 6-inch border here. This is stacked stone. We could leave this open on this side. This is just going to be gravel. We could probably do something fairly thin here, but there's not going to be much room to plant on this side. The biggest thing we want to make sure is that we screen this side really well. That'll help him a lot to make him feel better with the front yard. So that's about all I did for the front. Very simple. It's clean, straight lines. I tried to reduce the shapes of the beds a little bit. If it's still too big, I could definitely bring this in some more. It doesn't have to be that big of a radius around there. I personally think this location of this tree is a terrible choice to have put that there, but transplanting it will definitely lead to it because they're already very unhealthy trees and planted in very poor conditions, so the chance of them surviving a transplant will be slim. So let's try this here. If he's okay with it, then we'll go with this here. The last thing that we have to border here is this one. 7 foot there. Oops. Okay, and then we need to do the gutters that I was mentioning, the bull rock. So we'll do it about 18 inches here. Here's how I like to do it. It's just simple so that we don't even have to count. It'll if you noticed, after I did all that, those lines that I came back in here and did just disappeared. So those are flat there, but we're gonna have to raise these up 6 inches. Make sure that it's near flush for the style there, and then we can go in and do our planters. Trace this here. And if you are raising those stacked stone, if you're raising this stacked stone landscape border at 6 inches, then if you come in here at a -4, that raises the beds up 5 inches there. Same thing, -4 there. -4 there. There we go. Let's try that now. Now we have the plant material. Okay, all of our plants are up a little bit high, so I'll hide all, take the plants and the trees, group them, grab them all like that, and then come here in reality. If you just go by the lantana there, the lower ground cover type ones, that'll get you a really good idea where it's at. So if we just go ahead and raise everything up 4 inches, that'll put us at the height of that raised bed. Let's hit save, unhide all. A lot of times I'll go into terrain here just to get that line always distracts me there. Let's see here. So we need kind of a structured, organized. These windows here and here are low. Raised up all of those, but maybe I didn't. Let's just go ahead and while we're in this 3D mode to mulch. And here is rock. that, and along the house here, we'll just, a lot of times I like to do that black star gravel, but he's already got this in, so let's just do that. Let me go back to hardscape real quick and fix this bed edge. That needs to be up 6 inches. There we go. Just grab it all here. I like to do this, keeps it very easy, and I think it looks pretty decent, but this is all more personal preference than anything. But do remember that clients, whatever material you stick on here, clients really get stuck to that. Like that's what they're thinking, that's what our thoughts are. I like to show the stone to where there's a couple layers of it, but if you're thinking already that they only want to do one layer, then that'll change that there too. So there you go, kind of my beds. You see it opens it up a little bit more. Some homeowners really like to have the view to the front door open, to where nothing is blocking the front door. It gives it a nice clean look, and some people like to, very few people do like to hide it, but most of the time people like to really have this open right here near the front door. So let's go in. We got two little glitches here on this front. The planters are raised a little too high right there. And it's weird because sometimes they just, there we go. I got one last little material selection here to fix on this side. And you can either do that as rock or you can do it as mulch. I do currently use materials, and then that's easy for you to find. Okay, we are ready to plant this guy, so we can get moving. Like I said, these windows here in front of here are the windows are short, so boxwoods are always a great choice. Easy, low maintenance, gives it a fairly conservative look. As long as you don't go too crazy with the boxwoods, then it tends to just give a little bit of formality in here without. And sometimes I'll kind of show it to where it's over just a little bit there. Now, depending on how critical this yard is, how important this client is, will determine how much time you actually spend lining up these shrubs. But you see my shrubs are not perfectly in sync. That's all minor details that really don't matter as much. Just when you're in 3D, the client's not really going to see that. But I also don't want to see chaotic. It needs to be in enough straight line that the guys know in the field that this was meant to be a straight line. This is also just a first draft for a client. Here's a second one. So this window here is a closet window, would be my guess, is the master bedroom wing. So this is going to be a little bit, this is a higher window. So doing something a little higher right here will give the house, this is a very, very large 2-story brick house. So we need something. We got these trees here and some trees over here, but it's just a massive wall of bricks. So we need to figure out a way to put a little bit of something in it without blocking it, because there's a lot of windows too. So this is also the north side of the house, so you need to take that into consideration, and the fact that this is going to be full shade all the time. So a couple really large camellias on either side of this front doorway might look nice. In fact, let's pull them out just a little bit here. I would say do a couple of 15-gallon camellias. They do want more evergreen than anything else, so let's do some azaleas. We could do some full size. I like to do red ruffles around the house. To me, they tend to be more durable. I keep my azalea planting to a minimum. They can just be a little bit more finicky. And also in this totally enclosed area, there's going to be very, very poor drainage in here. What I'd like to do, and I probably propose this as a second addendum, would be to tie in these drain lines and bring them to the street. The way that they're run just to right here, there's still going to be a lot of overflow and a lot of issue there. Not really the best way to do that, but to really dry out this bed significantly, that would help. You might have to make notes in here too, that if this area needs to be dug out, you need to make notes in there and make sure that you included extra labor to dig out this bed, because the builder probably just came in and brought in just tons of really poor sand and clay material. So even if we come in and add 6 inches of good soil on top of this, it's not really going to change the fact that the bottom of the plant's roots are going to be sitting in water. So I might recommend to come in here and dig out a good solid foot, and bring in some really good soils in there as well too. So azaleas are a pretty good one. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, if it's full shade, you could do things. Variegated pisciforms look really nice in front of in shaded areas. Their variegation really pops out. But they can get to be really large, and then also because it's a brick house, the brick is not like a solid color, so doing something variegated in front of like a multicolored brick like this, you kind of lose, it gets a little too busy. So I really like to do solid green plants in front of a brick house. So let's take a look to see what else we can find that would do well. Banana shrubs would probably do pretty well along this wall right here. Let's do a pocket of azaleas. Probably like a cluster of 4 right here. Kind of boxing them out, making them look pretty good there. If we can keep them short, trying to find something variegated in here. The variegated dinella, the variegated dinella would do really well. The Aztec grass would do okay in there. There's not a lot of things that are variegated that stay small besides like those variegated Aztec grasses or variegated dinella. You definitely could try those variegated dinella right in here. They're a little bit smaller than this. They get to be so big and just crazy wild if you aren't careful with those guys. So don't plant them too close together. A very simple border might even just be Asian jasmine. If you do Asian jasmine along here though, let's check out our elevation because we want to make sure that yeah. So if we do Asian jasmine, then we'll want to do some metal edging in here as well. Might have to shrink these down just a little bit to fit in here a little better. 18 inches of Asian jasmine is more than enough. So we got 3, 6, 1 foot, 18 inches. So I need to be 1. I'm sorry, that's actually like 2 feet. There's 9, 1 foot, 2 foot, so I can come out another 6 inches. So let's go ahead and continue this metal edging right to there. Doing something big. Right there would look nice. Couple of nice big camellias right there. I would like to see, I always like these viburnums in front of electrical boxes. I think they're just great at hiding. Right here is going to be a little bit tougher to try to find something that would block that out. This here can be a couple different things. I think they have some foxtail ferns there, but foxtail ferns, or we could even do those little these are actually slightly smaller. Okay, here on this side we might be able to get away with a sunshine ligustrum. They tend to turn kind of like a lime green if they're in too much shade. Again, we could do a couple of azaleas on this side as well. So notice here I have green, then a variegated green, and then I have, so these here will need to be like the red ruffles, the really short ones. Those other ones could be larger. Nope, they all need to be the red ruffles. So need to shrink these down. We could reuse some of that lantana. Right in there. Okay, lots of green there. Needs something that'll. So they don't mind color. Sometimes I'll have to go back and watch my video. It's not popping up though. There we go. It's got gardenias, got some nandinas, boxwoods. I could. Yeah, so I can reuse those boxwoods along the back there. Loropetalum. Got that big blueberry over there. I don't know if we can reuse that guy or not. I'd recommend probably him going to the backyard. Some of these grasses these green grasses will do a little bit okay. Purple fountain grass will turn just green in the shade. Andinas would be great, but man, they like it drier, so it's a little tough. And I don't usually do this jasmine border like this, but they're either going to like it or they won't. We'll just kind of see. Because they don't want annual color, from here we could just kind of mass plant something if we wanted to. There's really a lot of different things that we could do. Find a small to medium size shrub that would do okay in the shade. Where those camellias are going to get too wet there. Indian hawthorns can be pretty resilient. So much green in here though. Let me try that. See how that works. Definitely would kind of come in here with these guys and bring them down just a little bit. would say that's good for front yard. From here, I quickly go into creating the video, uploading it to Adobe Premiere and adding music and closing, and then upload it onto our YouTube channel. Then quickly estimate it and get something back to them. The only thing that I missed was potentially doing what to do right here. There's very little you can plant right there that is gonna make it. You could try to squeeze a couple Nandinas in there, but honestly over time they're probably just gonna kind of fade out and not carry. These guys could get so big that they just take over this whole thing. So I just throw a couple Nandinas in there and call that good. So I'll save this here and call that good.